CEO and co-founder of Futurelect, Lindiwe Mazibuko, is now joining us virtually. Lindiwe, good morning. Thanks for your time at the SABC at this hour.
Thanks for the invitation, Lisa.
Perhaps we're just looking at the numbers at this point ahead of the 29th of May. I mean, there's a record number of people that have registered to vote. Nearly half of them, about 42%, are young voters between 18 and 39 years of age. The significance of that from your vantage point?
Yeah, it's hugely significant. We say 27 million, but it's actually almost 28, the most voters we've ever had. And the two registration weekends we had, both last year and early this year, attracted almost 70% 18 to 29-year-olds. That means young people are stepping up. They're taking more interest in participating in the democratic process, and that can only be a good thing for our democracy.
No, absolutely. There are also some questions, about the ballot system and how it's going to work. There's that three-ballot system. Perhaps at this point you could help us understand, how South Africa's democratic voting system is going to work, how people also effectively participate.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with so many new voters joining the voters' roll, it's really important for them to know how the process is going to work. And for those of us who've never voted in this way before. We're going to have three ballots for the first time. It's on the back of a constitutional court judgment that requires that South Africans need to be able to run for office for Parliament and the provinces, whether or not they're members of a political party. So to facilitate the entry of independent candidates, the IEC introduced a third ballot paper. Previously, we just had national and provincial. But even when we had two, that national ballot was divided between national candidates and regional candidates. So what the IEC has done is it separated out the regional candidate list and made it into a third ballot. So the first is only political parties. You will choose between parties that you want to represent you in the National Assembly in Parliament. The second ballot is also for Parliament, but it's the regional to national list. And there you will see both political parties and independent candidates represented. And then the third ballot is provincial legislatures. Again, both independent candidates and political parties will be on the provincial ballot. We're each going to get a different ballot depending on which province we're in. So the first ballots will be the same around the country, but the second and the third ballot will vary depending on which province you're in. And on the second ballot, you'll be sending provincial candidates to Parliament. The third ballot, you'll be sending provincial candidates to the provincial legislature where you live. The key thing to remember is we only get one vote per ballot, same as before. So one vote national, one vote regional to national, and one vote provincial legislatures.
Well, thank you for outlining that, because in the spirit of civic education, I mean, the issue of representation comes to the fore as well. And issues of underrepresentation of groups in government, issues faced by groups such as minorities, low-income households, women, younger groups. I mean, these often tend to be overlooked and ignored. And I wonder from your vantage point why it is so crucial for young voters at this point to go out and vote this time around.
Yeah, it's not only crucial for young people to go out and vote, but it's also important for them to be informed about who they're voting for and what the people they're electing are going to do. You're absolutely right. We have a problem of representation where men dominate the party leadership positions. They dominate party lists. There's only one political party on the ballot this year that has a woman leader, one out of, I think, 40 or so. So it's an extraordinary challenge that we have to address. And one of the ways that as a young person, you can see whether your political party or the party you're thinking about supporting is serious about representation is you can check their lists. The IEC requires parties to submit their party lists, of course, in rank order, and then those party lists are available for public viewing and consumption. There was even a period when we could lodge complaints about candidates who we felt were not suitable or not qualified to stand for political office. And of course, there are some restrictions in the Constitution and in the law. So go and scrutinize the party list. They've got ID numbers next to them. So the ID number will tell you the age of the candidates on the list, and have a look at who is dominating the top of the lists and who is showing up later in the list. So that'll show you whether or not political parties are serious about representation, particularly of young people. But it's also worth going to their websites and seeing how many women are represented, how many people with disabilities, and if they declare it, how many people from other marginalized communities like the LGBTIQ community. Very, very important if we're going to have a parliament that is representative of us as the people, one of the ways in which it has to be representative is that those marginalized groups have to be represented in the party leadership and in the parliamentary benches.
No, absolutely. And then obviously now into the role of Futurelect, because we've seen different organizations across the value chain dedicated to promoting leadership development and this active citizenry that we're talking about. I wonder if you could speak to what's on offer, or the work that has been done, but also looking at the fourth industrial revolution, how measures have had to be adapted for these elections in 2024, technology-wise. What's been your reach on that front?
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting developments from the electoral perspective has been the online registration. I don't know that we have taken it up with as much enthusiasm as we need to. I think as South Africans, we still traditionally want to go to the voting station on a registration weekend. But what online registration means, and it began in 2021 because of the pandemic, what it means is that between elections, before the voters' roll is called, you can register at any time. You can amend your registration at any time. And this means you don't have to go to a local IEC office or know where the local IEC office is in order to participate in the democratic process when a by-election comes up or when the next election rolls around. Another really important thing is young people can register from the age of 16. So even if you're in high school and you're not old enough to vote yet, the law allows you to register from the moment you can get an ID card. So that means that when the next election comes around that you are eligible for, whether it's a by-election or a provincial or local or national election, you can then participate in the ballot without having to coordinate when it is you turn 18. Two really important things, especially for young people to know. For us at Futurelect, we really believe that if we're going to have a robust democracy, if our democracy in South Africa is going to survive long beyond 30 years, if it's going to be robust, and if young people are going to be active participants in it, we have to have some kind of civic education, democracy education, voter education that tells us about how the voting process works, who the people we are electing to office are and what they are expected to do every day, and then most importantly, how we can participate in between elections. These are things that we're not taught at school, we're not taught at university, we're not taught anywhere. So we at Futurelect have built a civic education program that's been independently peer-reviewed, is completely non-partisan, and is about informing voters about what their participation options are in between elections, how they can vote, how they register, and most importantly, the people that they're going to elect into office, what those people are expected to do every day. One of the things I say really often is that in South Africa, we have an annual budget of 2.6 trillion rand. Annually, 2.6 trillion rand. And there are 400 people in this country who are responsible for that money. And they're the people we elect to parliament. So if you're thinking about the people you want to elect, one of the ways we can become more informed voters is to not just elect people who we vibe with, but to choose people who we think can exercise responsibility over that budget, who can make, rational decisions and lead with integrity. But we can't do that unless we're informed and unless we know more about how the system works. So that's the program we've developed. It's a series of micro courses, video available on your mobile. You can download an app. You can go to our website. We're in all the stores. And really, it's about bringing civic education to people where they are.